Oh, nope, it's happening. Is that too loud? That's gotta be too loud, right? Yeah, a little bit. Oh, maybe not. Oh. There we go. Yo, hello. Welcome to the I Hate Myself stream. Nah, it's all good. We have 0 viewers and 1 person commenting. Hello, Cuba TV. Brutalise? I just mean, like, you can, like, fucking... This is the free zone where you can just fucking come in here and you can say whatever you want about the webcomic, and it's all good, because it's all fucking data. I hate fucking doing this, but, like... and I'm slightly drunk right now. But, like, this is, like, I see this as a necessary step to improving my writing. I just have to get on and do it. What was I saying? Although it's gonna be like a good 10 minutes before people... 10, 13 minutes before people read through. Oh, we can just chat, whatever. That's all good. I just want to create like a space so that people can... I guess it's just a way of extracting more data, because like there are comment sections on the webcomic. But I feel like it might entice people more if they can just fucking come to me and just like wait, is it? Oh shit, sorry, it's not in the I need to change the description. How do I change the description? Can I do that now? Sorry, my bad. I should have added that. That should be... Did that pop? Wait, shit. Hang on. Sorry, I don't think I actually posted the video. No, I didn't. Fuck me. How did that happen? I swear I pressed that. I must have just pressed save. Cool. And now I go to live. And yes, thank you. Chapter 3. So yeah, basically, there we go. The chapter 3 should be added to the thing. No, there's 3 chapters now. So if you go to my channel, or if you just look at the description now, if you refresh, there'll be a link to the 3rd chapter. But this is probably a thing I'm going to get in the habit of doing every time I release a chapter. I didn't want to do it at the start because it was like, I don't know. It's like when you work on a project for like fucking forever. It's like you don't want to hear negative criticism, which is, I suppose, very unlikely. It's not that I don't want to. It's just that, it's very stressful. But now it's sort of like the nerves have faded off, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to like fail as fast as possible. So if this helps get me more data, that's good. Okay, I'm gonna stop first then. Your writing is so bad it makes the CW show or Cartoon Network shows actually look good. No hard feelings, this is just for the lols. I can't tell if you're serious or not, though. As far as I know, what you do is pretty good. Yeah, so it's like, it's been interesting. There are the pacing problems in chapter 1, which I know about, and I'm sort of working to fix them with a rewrite. But the interesting thing is, every engagement that I've seriously tried to go for and engage the audience with, I've actually like pulled off. Like a lot of people on the 1st chapter, there was criticisms of the pacing, which is a problem I just didn't see coming. But the what was it? The like a lot of people were commenting about like, oh, it's so cute, it's so wholesome, blah 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 blah. Yeah, and that's like what I was aiming for. I was aiming for like sort of a sweet moment at the end there. So yeah, like I hit that, and then in the 2nd chapter, I was like, I want to make. Well, this obviously I decided this beforehand in the world building part, but I'm like, I want to create a power system which is inherently interesting. So even when people read it as its exposition, people will be like, oh, that's interesting. And yeah, I did get that reaction. So So it's like everything I'm sort of going for, like the main thing that I'm going to trying to engage people with each chapter has been achieved. It's just there's been other problems which come up which I just fucking didn't foresee coming. You're talking about the public domain comic, right? Yes. It's so bad I can't even see it seriously, though. If you refresh the browser, you should be taken to... There's a webtoon link to go to Chapter 3. Yeah. But yeah, so, yes, if you haven't been paying attention, Chapter 3 is now released, so I'm just going to be chilling out here for the next hour and listening to people's criticisms as they come in. Or compliments, whatever. It's just as a better way of getting data. And also getting the nerves out of my system. What do you think of Cowboy Bebop? Same thing I used to think. I really need to turn that off. Hang on. What do I think of Cowboy Bebop? Same thing I used to think. Are you gays, plural? I'm bi? Does that answer your question? What's it called again? Airlock Bound. And if you refresh the page, you'll be taken to a Webtoons link. Yes, I've uploaded it to Webtoons. I've stopped uploading it to Imgur because that was a pain in the ass. Or if you look at my channel, there's a video where I talk about it. I intended to release that before I went live, but I accidentally released it. Yeah. Nitro Tier says I enjoyed it and not noticed major flaws myself. That's good. What flaws have you noticed? Is a good question. Let me fucking probe you on that. Feel free to insult me. It's all good. I want to learn. I'm gonna be that fucking it's such a fucking good scene. Does anyone remember the scene in Rick and Morty where they like go to the lighthouse and they need to like use the lighthouse, but the guy inside the lighthouse is like, I'll let you use my lighthouse, but you have to listen to my tale. And then he's like, he like seems to want improvement, seems to want help on his writing, and he wants someone to listen to it and like criticize it and everything. And he's just like, it's okay, you can criticize my writing, I want to learn. He's like, well, personally, and he tries to like, Morty tries to give like a criticism as like nicely as possible. He's like, get out of my lighthouse. Yes, I'm trying to not be that. I didn't particularly notice the pacing in Chapter 1 until it was pointed out. I thought it got to the point quickly and I was fine with it. Huh, interesting. Yeah. I don't know, it's like as I said, if I... You have to listen to my screenplay. It's always a trap when a normie refers to it as a screenplay. Wait, what's it supposed to be called? I need to turn that the fuck off. That is so annoying. I mean, thank you, Eclipse, for subscribing. Where is that? Where is that? It would be in the display capture, event box, audience test, hotbar. I am bad. Okay, there we go. Properties. Turn off subscriptions. There we go. Yeah. So far, I've been enjoying Airlock Bound. The differences between traditional writing and comics, it does have that feel for me, like some stories where I have to read it for a bit to get into it. I'm gonna read that again because So I've been enjoying Airlock Bound. The differences between traditional writing and comics. Wait, that was a full sentence. I'm sorry, I'm confused. The differences between traditional writing and comics. It does have that feel for me like some stories where I have to read it a bit to get into it. It's a case of getting used to the new world, understanding the mechanics of the system, and learning about the characters. A good takeaway for you, though, is it's damned unique from what I've seen so far. Yeah, okay. Thank you. I hope people aren't going to be too scared of giving criticisms. Just because it's live. I hope this hasn't been detriment. Cinder! What are you doing? What are you doing? Add extremely obscure Among Us references, please. I'm not gonna do that, but it is public domain, so if you want to do that, go right ahead. 8:46 p.m. here. I can't type. Yeah, it's also 8:46 p.m. here. We are probably in the same area. You got a link to the comment. If you refresh the stream, it should be there. Sorry, this isn't constructive criticism. That's okay. Just a writing question. Whenever I write, I always... Oh, I see. I thought you were saying you were going to give an unconstructive criticism, and I was going to be like, yeah, all right. Whenever I write, I always get a start, middle, then end, but I try to fill in the transitions to each stage. I hit a wall. Yes, I'm noticing that myself. So it's been really interesting coming from like the perspective of a critic, and then going into actual writing of the thing, and like I haven't been like totally blindsided by it. Like, I've set out to do some things, and I have gotten the reaction I've been looking for. So, it's like a lot of the stuff I studied and tried to analyze when I was a critic seem like it's been working out, and I suppose that seems like it was pretty obvious from like I've made some fan fictions now which have worked out pretty well. So it seems like I've been onto something on the analytical side of like sort of being a critic. But then when you actually get into writing, it's like you can no longer focus on like specific moments, like big moments or like big overall concepts. It's like you get into the nitty-gritty of writing, and like it becomes, there's this practical problem where it becomes so much more difficult. It's like, yeah, it's like you have scene A and then you have scene B, and then you're like, how the fuck do I get in between them? And it's like, and even just like, I suppose the bigger issue I've been running into that I'm trying to like wrap my head around now is something I've been calling tangibles, where it's like, okay, so like say you have, oh hang on, wait. Dialogue feels a bit too blunt. Most of it's written as if they say the first thing that comes up to their head, unfiltered. Okay, that's interesting. I need to fucking grab a notepad. No, let's get a OneNote. Oh, hang on, I'll get back to that in a second. I'm just gonna... Empty speech bubbles are pretty annoying. It's an interesting one. I'm just gonna write everything I hear down. And usually it's there's one for the magic system, seems confusing to me. Interesting. Actually, it's one episode per month. Confusing. I found the panel variety different, but if only slightly a little overwhelming. Panels are interesting in comics. I usually see tight panels to grow intensity. I'm gonna copy paste that one. I don't know how to interpret that one just yet. Whoops. Where was I? So I was like the interesting thing I've run into is like so as like my I have no clue what the purpose of the empty speech bubble is, and I can't figure out that out. It's a problem. So I keep hearing that one. So the idea with that was it's not supposed to be like the line was held back until a couple of panels later. The big letters in the background is what was in that speech bubble. So yeah, so there was a couple of interesting clarity issues with the first chapter, which I noticed. Which is, man, fucking clarity issues are like hard to work around, because it's like you know exactly what you're intending to go for because you made it, and then like but then like you fucking put it on page and then you're just not sure how like other people are going to perceive it. It's like some people got it, other people didn't, but it seems like a bit too much. I don't know. I feel I've definitely seen like other stuff and like sort of normal mainstream series where people have that, and then people are like, oh well, this character actually meant this, or this was supposed to be this, and they're like, oh yeah, I get it now. So it's like I don't know how much it's normal. I think I've seen that comment a bit too much to think that it wasn't a real problem. So yeah, there was sort of clarity issues in the first chapter where we try to like. I think that's sort of going to be a process of live and learn, trial and error. That's it. Where we just kind of sort of work out what we get just like a better feel for how the audience will perceive things going forward. But thank you for the criticism. Yeah, so yeah, I was saying with going from critic to writing, it's like this problem that I didn't think I'd run into and completely blindsided me was like, as a critic, you take a scene that's already built and then you try to work out why it's good. And for a lot of these things, it comes down to engagements, where it's like, okay, so say, like a engagement that I recently learned about and tried to work out was spectacle, right? Which is in the extreme. Anything that's like super extreme has this sort of inherent engagement to it. Like think about, turn that off. Whatever. So, like, think about like the Titan, the Colossal Titan in Attack on Titan in episode 1. Like he comes over the wall and he towers above everything, and like he grips the top of the wall and it like shatters, and then when he kicks the door, it's like it sends like this huge gust of wind. That's spectacle. It's taking things to the extreme, right? Or like another example of spectacle is. There's a good scene from Seven Deadly Sins where some guy throws a spear cross-country at like a person or like the main character, and then he catches the spear and he goes like flying through like buildings and more buildings, and he's just like, the spear carries him, but he like catches it and he like goes with it trying to stop it, like, but it has such force, like it's the extreme. But then like, so it's like I get that and I understand that, and then you try to go into actual writing and then you're like, okay, well, how do I actually think of the whole spear thing? Because it's one thing to be able to like look at it, and it's one thing to be able to look at it and understand why it works. But then it's another thing to be like, okay, well, how did this guy actually come up with the idea of someone grabbing a spear and pulling it away? The engagement, the thing that you analyze is easy enough to understand, but then to like actually make it yourself and like make a new version of itself is like. It's a pain. Anyway, diatribe over. What's the best way to contact you outside streams? Probably Twitter. I don't necessarily respond to everything, because obviously I get a decent amount of messages. But you gotta respond to some things, so you gotta like entice me, I guess. I don't have time to respond to everything. Not constructive criticisms, but I think downtime is important in any story. I look to One Piece and the moments of crew bantering on the ship as an amazing way to build character dynamic. It's like I've thought a lot about the idea of downtime. I disagree with like how people have been how people talk about it sometimes, because it's like I feel like just saying downtime isn't descriptive enough of like what you're trying to get across. I don't think you can just like have you can just like wait with nothing happening and therefore it's like somehow accomplish something. I think a lot of times it's like you mentioned One Piece as an example. I think it's like the characters are doing something and like building a character dynamic and stuff. It's not just simply downtime. Downtime like implies that like nothing is happening. But obviously, I suppose that's probably not what you mean. I know what you're going for, but like sometimes with the way it's described, I'm not sure about. Like the part where the dude and the man did the thing. The paneling could... Wait, hang on. I have no clue what the purpose of the... No. Okay, righto. I'll have to reread the entire story so far. When I ain't tired, I'll probably be better critiques for you. Well, thank you. When you do. I probably have to try streaming at different times. The paneling could use some work. It's rather hard to discern where I should travel. Interesting. Looking at some pages, the eyes travel in a circle, and in others, zigzags unnaturally. Huh. Writing art criticism is a little hard for me to pass. I'll note that one down. Thank you. Scott E says, just skim the latest. The way you pace your combat needs work. I find that it isn't communicated well with the panels as well as the lack of proper colors. Dialogue's okay for a start. Okay, well, that's something. Thank you. I've just basically just got a fucking giant This is working, actually. This is good. So I've got a fucking giant sheet, and I just, like, copy-paste fucking chucking everything down. This is good for data, because it's like, at the start when I first released the webcomic, there was enough sort of boom about it because of the video it came with that I got lots of comments, but like as we go forward it starts to wane off, so it's like I need a way of like getting more data. But this is good. Thank you for that. You should utilize the vertical nature of webtoons to your advantage to give yourself more horizontal space to breathe and simplify the flow, focusing on top to bottom more than left to right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I used to be, when we started the project, it's like a lot of my experience with comics, manga, etc. was like Attack on Titan, and I'm like, I don't get this new webtoon thing. It's this new fandangled webtoon thing. It's confusing to me. Why would you want it to be like that? But like after I've read Solo Leveling now, and I get it. It's much more smoother to read like that, especially if you're on like a phone or something. Fortunately, too late to change that now. The fight, well, maybe it isn't. The fight scenes weren't particularly interesting. If you can't rely on visuals to convey an interesting fight, you can utilize your magic system or something to make worth investing in. Interesting. Thank you. Chapter 1, I felt like I didn't understand the world or characters were doing stuff without me understanding their motives or place in the world. Yep, that's probably goes along with the pacing issue. Chapter 1 was better. Chapter 2 was better. It started to build the character relationships to each other with small interactions. It did kind of feel like I was reading a wiki article at some points, though. Yeah, I get this one. I have a bit of a weird... This is sort of something I'll stand by. I'm not necessarily... where my approach to exposition is, like, I get the idea of, like, show, don't tell and all, but, like, sometimes I feel like exposition in itself can be engaging. And sometimes telling is just getting it out of the way is like the more efficient method. Not that I'm not open to other interpretations. I like the part where the dude and the man did the thing. Hey, I just got here, I haven't read the new chapter yet. That's fine. I think your profile picture is in need of an update. I just changed it. The casual way the princess character talks about killing her whole family is very off-putting. I'm not sure if this was the point, but she feels a bit detached in the way that seems alarming. Yeah. That one's fine, but I'll note that one down. I'm like fucking losing track. This has maybe been a bit too successful. I'm like at the top of the chat bar now. I think with Spectacle you just need something that's insane and then try to wonder how it fits into the laws of your worlds. The font is a little basic, but I like the way your tethering thing works. Thank you. Yeah. I'm sort of starting to get that a bit myself. I've never been a particularly visual person. Perhaps a comic was a bad idea from that perspective. But I'm starting to pick up things a little bit more and see where people are coming from that aspect. I've gotten the comment about the font a couple of times now, and I think I'm starting to see what you mean now. You set up the motivation for the combat, set up the characters to appear in to each other where such action would seem to make sense, and you paint it all. You can think of a scene and then... What? The motivations for the combat, set up the characters to appear to each other where such action would seem to make sense to them, and you paint it all. Okay. The dialogue is at odds with the aesthetics. Visually, it's magical and classic fairy tale adjacent, but your dialogue is very simple and utilitarian. You should pretty up the text. Oh, I see. Right, this is another font comment. I think. Your dialogue is very simple. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not something that I would have, like, thought of first time round. I guess I always was a bit very utilitarian in my approach. A lot of the times I try not to do things unless I actually understand them. But I think I'm starting to understand that criticism. Has chapter 3 of your comic come out? Yes, you can find it in the description. Just finished the latest chapter. I like the explanation of orbits. Not long after showing the application. I hope we see creative uses of that skill. Yeah, that's good. Okay, good. I just want to thank you for putting your money where your mouth is with the Studio High Seas products and for Pirates of the West. Thank you. It's what I do. At the expense of my wallet. That's okay. We'll get there eventually. Just have to fail faster. For reading a bit more, I hope you... After reading a bit more, I only hope you do not run into Ruby levels of problems. My only suggestion is to improve, to give your characters some breathing room to better understand each other. Gotcha. There's a small problem with chapter 1 where there's a little too much tell instead of show. Like, not everywhere, but it's a problem that's noticeable in a few sections. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so I talked about it a bit more in the Invincible video. If you've watched that. But yeah, I sort of talk about why I had like a specific way I wanted to engage my audience, which was sort of like that last little moment there, which is the sweet, wholesome moment that people comment on. And then I just sort of like headed straight for there and disregarded any other way to engage the audience, which I think was probably the wrong move in hindsight, which is what I want to tackle with the rewrite of chapter 1. Were the points in the webcomic where there was no dialogue in the dialogue... Fuck! Every time with that criticism. Were the points in the webcomic where there was no dialogue in the dialogue bubbles intentional? If so, I don't think that was obvious enough. Yeah, take the big words that are in the background at the end and put it in the speech bubble. That was the intention with that. Yeah. I didn't think... Yeah, it's like... You run into fucking... for example, the royal scientist just suddenly being there is kind of jarring. He wasn't hinted at. He wasn't even established as a character before. Ah, shit, I'm getting fucked by, I'm like still getting fucked by episode 1's pacing. Shit. Yeah, I can totally fix that with the rewrite. That makes sense to me, honestly, yeah. I do hope I get the opportunity to adjust your designs a bit more. Not now, of course, but sometime later. More detail? Howdy, I'll be reading through the whole thing because of you, Internet Man told me to, and if I can't trust a random internet guy, who can't adjust? Sounds reasonable. In the fight, you switch back and forth between Gale and Puff. It's distracting for the float. That's an interesting criticism. I feel like that happens, like, all the time in, like, most of the stuff I watch. I wouldn't have expected that to be a problem. But I'll note that one down. Keep in mind, I don't necessarily... It's one thing to, like, sit here and just take criticism, but, like, also it's probably important to not, like listen and apply every criticism. I generally try to, like, find patterns, and if I understand something, I'll implement it. I'm not sure what I was trying to say with that. I hated solo leveling. I haven't read the story, as I'll take it in for next time. On downtime, I feel like you should take advantage of juxtaposition, have a high before a low. Example, Harry Potter. Yeah, but people call it downtime if the plot isn't moving forward. I guess my point is that if characters are fun, just being with them is fun. Yeah, I get that. Ah, shit. Alright, it probably has, and I'm a jackass. I don't remember an action scene in chapter 2. I'm gonna go read it. Yeah. If you look in the comments, there's a link to chapter 3. Also upload it to pirate sites. Might build more engagement. Maybe. I don't know. I think I wanna make sure I've got like a good product first before I consider advertising, because I feel like that's such an easy trap to get in as a designer, being like, oh, I just need more advertising. It's like, I guess you can improve the nature of anything with advertising, but like, if something's good, it should spread by itself. May I contact you regarding hosting a website for the comic? No, just fucking do it. Some people already have. There's a website called airlockbound.com, which is totally unofficial, and it just hosts the comic. It's public domain, so you can just do it. I have a small criticism, but it's about the lettering, basically the font you use, and really not about the writing, manga, webtoons. Most other forms of comic use fonts made for the comic, like Woodchuck or Back Issues. Is there a webcomic called Back Issues? They fit better in word balloons and are less rigid, so they feel more compatible with drawing various comic fonts available for free. Huh. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely like a reoccurring thing I'm hearing. I think we might like switch up the the fonts next chapter. I've definitely heard that a lot. Part 2, running from the Death Eater's attack. If we didn't have that normalcy, the horror wouldn't be so impactful. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I kind of get that. Although I suppose I have that in chapter 1 anyway. I was gonna say I fixed that with chapter the rewrite, which I'm working on. Shouldn't exposition need only be delivered with the utmost efficiency, or at least with a proper setup to invest in? Chapter 1, not easy to read through. Fair enough. Yeah, the clarity issues were a thing that really blindsided me. It's yeah. I don't have Comic Sans as much as a lot of people, and I think it would be better for the comic than the current font. Fair enough. You might be right. Yeah, it does feel like very like I'm typing up a database, you know, the more I look at it. Alright, I'm about to walk away from the chat as soon as my power may go out soon. Oh, geez, okay. Glad I could drop by to provide feedback. Thank you. Maybe try learning to draw yourself. That's a big ask. To get a better idea of what you want from the visual elements of the comic. Comics are just as much pictures as they are writing. That's something I'm very quickly getting. I always had this problem. I think it's like critic bias, where it's like you hyper focus like certain things that you're interested in. Like I'm always about like the characters and trying to make character depths and trying to invest people in characters. But then I like go and make a comic and I'm like, well, whatever, the artist can handle the visual element. And I'm like, but I look back on that now and I'm like, well, okay, why am I it's not like the comic element is like fucking useless or anything. It's like obviously it's a visual medium and people are coming to it for the visuals. So that's something I need to pay attention to a lot more. I think using comics was a bad idea. Visual mediums are more accessible. Yeah, so that was really my concentration when I did it. I'm just like, well, I can't just write a novel. I don't know who's gonna read that. I think maybe that was, and it'd be interesting though if I just like write a novel and it's like wonder where it would go from there as a public domain thing if I could make it good enough. Like one guy wasn't talking about font when he said pretty up the text. He was referring to the dialogue itself. Was he? That's what I thought he said because he said dialogue and then he said pretty up the text and then I assumed he was talking about the text again. I haven't read, but Trash is 0 out of 10. The manga was better. Oh, you decided to put it on Webtoons? Yeah, Imgo was getting a pain. Honestly, uploading it to Webtoons is way easier. I wanted to see where it was going to go as a public domain thing, but like interestingly, the response to it has been rather underwhelming. Which, if anything, is a good sign that like small creators can just like upload their thing, and until it like starts to get popular, they're not going to have anything ripped. Or like used in any sort of way. It's like you got to have popularity before that point, and then once you do, it becomes easier to have influence over your own work. So if someone rips it, it's like enough people know about you to point it out, and like they lose a ethical Just reread the third chapter. Is there a reason why her father just stands there menacingly? Yeah, you will get to that next chapter. Don't worry. I in hindsight, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, should I have put like characters going, huh? What is this? That's always like such an animeism, but like also I think it serves a purpose in clarity as to tell the reader, hey, it's okay. You don't need to understand why this is happening. Um, there is no establishing shot when the first thing I noticed in this chapter is there is no establishing shot when the chapter starts, like where the scientist is in relation to the garden. Is that what it's called? I guess so. Is that a thing people do? Because like it's if you're reading from chapter 2 to chapter 3, it should be pretty obvious where they are. I don't think I need to do that chapter to chapter, should I? I'm gonna put that down anyway. Let me do that as a note. After getting kicked in the back by a horse, she just kind of sits up. You don't know what bones she broke. I don't know. I think that's in the... Well, I'll note that down anyway. I think this is sort of in the... I don't know. Storytelling is a bit of a flexible medium in the things you can get away with, or at least I think so. Oh god, I see a home stuck in here. Well, I haven't read first 2 chapters, but really good visual language. I don't think I'll forget the characters. What? I haven't read the first 2 chapters, but really good visual language. I don't think I'll forget the characters. You just read chapter 3 randomly? Okay. Well, that's an interesting compliment. Thank you. Gotta go to bed, but I like the story. Can't wait to see more. Thank you, Unhappy Lich. The characters' individual voices are hard to distinguish. If you take the dialogues out of context, it's impossible or hard to tell who said it. Show their character through how they say things. Interesting. I feel like that's very difficult to do, like, line to line. Without, like, giving each character, like, a wacky personality. But I'll note that one down anyway. Thank you. The face I've been putting off the IP video for 4 months now, but I hope the comic project goes well. Regardless, love your stuff otherwise. Thank you. Applying every criticism, end up with Ruby. Yeah, maybe? In terms of colors, Gale is a very similar shade of grey to the background. You should work with him to make his contrasts to make him pop more. The background themselves either look washed out or just white. Interesting. Thank you. Yeah, so if you're just joining the chat now, I basically just have like a giant fucking OneNote document where I just like copy and paste like things. Lifted Starfish says the fight is extremely confusing. I think you might want to watch some videos or read some stuff on how fight scenes should follow in comics. Even study existing fight scenes. Huh. We are still having clarity issues. I think that's the second time I've seen that. Thank you. I think you used dialogue squares wrongly. I hope I get what you mean. It creates confusion in the viewer, but you used it in times when you need to read squares chronologically. I'm not sure what that's a reference to, but I will note that one down. Thank you. Personally, I like the font part of the part where you say it's a public domain series. Oh, you like the font of the part where you say it's a public domain series? Yes, that is the Tradewinds font. It is the font that I use. But yeah, that seems like another comment on the font looking boring in the rest of the comic, which is fair. I see that one a lot. I'm probably gonna implement that in chapter 3. Would you read a Google Doc listing my criticisms I found on a 2 read-through? For context of my abilities, I write mediocre fan fiction. Thus, my opinion is objectively right of the most. Look, man, I just generally speaking, I don't just like listen to every criticism. I'll if it makes sense to me, I'll listen to it, and if I get it a lot, I'll look into it more until I understand it. So yeah, just fucking, yeah, sure, send me it. I will read through it. I've gotten big comments before which give like a lot of details on people's opinions. I'm like, yes, that is what I'm looking for, because it gives me the most information. I think people who give a lot of opinions have like sort of a higher chance of being like outliers. It's like, but like the information is still useful, and you can glean a lot of stuff from it. How long were you watching the anime that was on the previous channel banner? People haven't forgotten. Don't read a lot of comics and manga, but the font size for the speech bubble seems to be inconsistent. Interesting. My translation Esperanto, I switched the font to Comic Sans. It's also extremely common for comics to use complete capital case rather than standard written upper and lower cases. Yeah, I've noticed that one too. I never really like understood why you would do one or the other though. It's like, so I guess this is the thing about a lot of the way I try to learn. I try not to do things just because everyone else does them. I'd rather do the opposite, and then like I get like reactions to it which are like negative, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I think I understand why people do it, and then I sort of join it, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that people just do because everyone else does, like fucking relatable main characters. That's the big one I fucking hate. It's like, yeah, just make your character like a really blank doughball fucking nothing. And it's like, ugh. Like, cause like, I don't know, you look at like literally any fucking series, if you go to like, you don't just look at the popular, like it makes sense if you like look at the popular stuff and you're like, oh, look at all these relatable main characters who are like vague and like obviously self-inserts. Oh man, this must be such a good idea for writing. And then you like actually like look at all the unpopular stuff for comparison, and you realize, oh hey, this like happens literally everywhere and it means basically nothing. Damn. In my translation, oh whoops, no, I read that one. I said pretty top of the text because the character limit wouldn't let me say make the dialogue a little more flowery without going full purple prose. Fair enough. I can do more flowery yeah, so that was what you were saying. Yeah, I can do more flowery dialogue. I guess right now I'm trying to fucking find the balance between like getting the fucking message across and like flair, because like after chapter 1 I'm like, oh, there's fucking clarity issues. So I've been trying to like make sure people like understand what the fuck I'm trying to say more than anything right now. But I can probably up that now, because I think I'm out of the clarity issue problems now. Well, okay, except for the fight part, but that's more of a paneling framing thing, I think. I'm going to upload the comic to Webtoons, but somehow I broke my account and now I can't. What you're saying seems to imply that her dad actually appeared, but I got the impression that only Puff could see her. I can't say anything on that. Characters don't need to say, huh, what is this? That's where the visual element comes in. Just make them look more surprised and confused. Yeah, actually I could see that. There were a couple of panels there where I'm like, does that need to be more strong? But I'm like, I should probably like put it out and see if it's a problem first. Because it's like, you don't want to... I think I went on the opposite spectrum of this, but like, especially when dealing with the artist, I'm like, I really don't want to be the perfectionist artist that does all of these changes that don't fucking matter, and then we just like kill the fucking pipeline with it. So I've sort of been prioritizing getting the comic out first, and then like if I notice a trend in how people perceive things, then I jump in. So that's probably going to be... I think I've noticed that before, yeah. I like the fact the princess problem solved her way to win the fight. But I don't really like the actual problem solving. Perhaps it's because we didn't see the horses before the fight began. Oh, that's probably good then. The horses were in chapter... Well, no, the horses were still in chapter 3 as well. They were around. It's not like they appeared out of nowhere? That's interesting. I'm gonna note that one down. I don't know what to make of that. Love your hair, thank you. Perhaps you could also use some character establishing moments, like the princess crushing a bug to show her being ruthless, or Gale looking at a bird with awe in its freedom. The backgrounds were a bit too overwhelming. Sometimes they created confusion. Clarity issues. Copy. This has been really useful. I definitely need to do this each time. Reading the prologue, do we need to read it left to right, or right to left, or left to right? Left to right. That's okay. I am a Westerner. You can do the normal method. Receive criticisms? Any thoughts on the Sony acquisition of Funimation and Crunchyroll and the new monopoly? I think they always had a monopoly. They had a monopoly on each individual show they exclusively licensed. The only difference is that now they have more monopolies. Hope there is another fight soon where one of them gets injured. Hard to judge what the physical limits of these people are. Had similar issues with JJK having humans fly through buildings. Oh, Jujutsu Kaisen. 1 to 2 is too exposition heavy. A lot is being told rather than shown. There's a lot of foreshadowing as of yet. Everything sort of happens. There's a lot of clues, and there's not a lot of clues to where it goes. It's interesting. I feel like I agree with that criticism, but like I don't know what exactly causes it. I feel like I've written in a way where I'm just like, I don't know. So the tether system, at some point you're going to have people tethered to other people, right? Maybe. Maybe in a way. Maybe in a way you're not quite expecting. Something I noticed from the little bit of manga typeset, it seems like the words kind of get close to the edges of the bubbles at time. Huh, interesting. I also use capital letters in my comic, and I have no idea why. I think I originated from when typewriters could only type with capital letters. Oh yeah, see, that's the sort of thing I want to avoid rather than just like sort of blindly listening to criticism, because I don't want to stumble into something that people just do because it's tradition. I want to like know why I'm doing it, because after you know why you're doing it, then you know like when you can break it. Which order am I supposed to read the story? Chapter 1 to 3 and then left to right? I feel like there's not a lot of flow in the action. Like, we don't see the scientist get hit by the horse. We just see the aftermath, so it's a bit jarring. That makes sense. That's a... Oh, that reminds me of a D&D campaign I ran at one point, where I had these, like, smoke bomb things, and they got thrown down, and there was an NPC that they were trying to protect, and then, like, the smoke obscured them, and then like the assassins like ran in and tried to hurt them, and like I didn't describe what was happening within that smoke cloud, and one of the players came back to me and was just like, I didn't like this, and I'm like, I thought about it for a while. I'm like, oh, it's like this, it's like another one of these things is like me as the fucking hyper pompous fucking critic who's only interested in like story and character and everything that like I overlooked. It's like there's a very visceral visual side to like the descriptions or like the explanations of what happens. It's like people want to like see the stuff happening. It's like one of these weird fundamentals you just like don't think about as a critic because you're too hyper fixated on like these really sort of big abstract concepts about like character development and like characterization and, you know, everything. This is weird because I actually do it correctly a page later where you show Puff getting hit by the horse and the aftermath. Yeah, interesting. Are the critiques limited to this stream, or can we send an in-depth email? Yeah, you can just you can hit me. I like more data. Data is good. The character limit is, you know, limiting. I didn't think about the character limit. My bad. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so you could send me on Twitter. That's a good place to send it to me. I don't want to just say this part bad and be unable to be constructive about it. I get it. If you do want to just say this part bad, that's fine. Like it gives me data to work with, because then I can like build up patterns of like what was liked and what wasn't liked, what wasn't liked, and then I can like sort of work things out from there. Cat. Is there a cat? Where'd you go? I agree on relatable characters being a plague, especially in anime, where every hero has the exact same personality. Not a critique, but how did you go about choosing the artist for the comic? It was, originally approached me with it, and just like, hey, you have any things you're planning? And I was just like, you know, I think you mentioned, I've been kind of like throwing around the idea of doing a comic. And then the public domain part came later. As I was thinking about copyright at the same time. One thing you can try is to create speech differences between characters. Think my lord and my lord from Game of Thrones. It tells you what kind of person they are without exposition. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I feel like I'm too under-socialized, you know, in a way. Like sometimes I'll like go to write characters and I'm like, I don't know, I have trouble creating like the raw basics of how they would speak, or like the differentiations. That's a good criticism. I'll think about that one. I think the reason that comics tend to use complete capital case over upper and lower, I think, is because comics, being a visual medium, the text is very much a visual representation of what's said, and people don't usually speak using uppercase and lowercase. They just say things similar to how size is used for volume. So someone who is highly educated will use a lot of formal terms. They will use theory and hypothesis in their correct ways. Less is almost always more. I think I understand that one. The horses appears on page 5 and then disappears for ages, and several pages where I think they should be in the panels have just gone. To add the horses comment from someone else. Interesting. I didn't think I would have to... I don't want to be an asshole about like responding to criticism. Like, isn't that what object permanence is for? Hang on. The horses appear on page 5 and then disappear for ages, and several pages where I think they oh, right. So it's several pages where I think they should be in the panels. They are just gone. Huh. Yeah, maybe there's sense to that. First off, I adore the art style. Thank you. How confused are you right now? Pretty confused now that you said that. I don't have a time I don't have a ton of time to be here, but I really like your hair. Thank you. I think the way Gale's tether works at some points, he should, if there is another fight, use his meteor as an attack that leaves him weaker. That's I hadn't thought of that. Oh, using the whole thing. Yeah, that's he can do that, can he? I had never like actually considered doing that before. There's a lot of ways I thought about using the tether system. That wasn't one of them. Interesting. that has a spectacle flair to that. I like that. This is a question on the power system. Do you only things being used become life-threatening? I.e., the sword he controls, would he die if it was smashed, or is only the... I have a question on the power system. Do only things being used become life-threatening? I.e., the sword he controls, would he die if it was smashed, or is only the rock from chapter 2? You're gonna have to be slightly more... I think I understand what you're saying, but you're gonna be... Maybe give that sentence another run through. I really do not like the girl's character so far, but I like her bragging about how smart she was just before the horse also hits her. I also wonder what's up with her foregoing the sword. Yeah, so I hope it's mystery. Yeah, so that's sort of... So this is... I'm not surprised some people will react to Puff that way. It's like Gale was supposed to be the character who's just like altogether likable, but like has less depth, whereas Puff is supposed to be more anti-hero-ish. And have more depth to her at the expense of her being less likable. Yeah, so there's this whole mystery element of like what Puff is trying to prove that I'm going for. Forget uppercase and lowercase. If you want to do the opposite of what everyone else does, write it in English Cyrillic. I don't know what it is. No. Why can't we have a whodunit after the cloud clears? Oh, I see. That's for the D&D thing. I found an empty speech bubble in the last panel. God damn it. Yeah, when I do the rewrite, I'm fucking... That's totally... I can't even like blame artists for that. That's like on me. That was like a specific requirement I asked in paneling. I found an empty speech. Right now, what was didn't liked? With relatable characters, those writers focus on the personality too much, and the truth is we are boring. What makes a good relatable character is the struggles they go for, big or small. Some visuals were a little confusing at first before clearing things up a few panels later. Maybe this is fine. I've seen some big deal writers do it. Yeah, I feel like with One Piece, but it's a mild inconvenience. Yeah, okay. Noticed. Noticed. No, noted? That's what I want to say. One thing that stuck out to me was Puff tripping into the puddle. Oh, interesting. I'm looking back. Did that puddle... No, I don't know. Stephen King's book on writing, he says, good dialogue comes from observations made in real-life conversations. Yeah, I'm lacking in that. Some of my favorite characters are relatable, e.g. Subaru. I don't think Subaru is relatable. Like, unless you talk about, like, on a specific level of, like, you being a fucking shut-in weeb, who wants a fucking waifu. Like, sure. Like, but that's, like, the specific relatable, where it's relatable to, like, a specific type of person, rather than trying to be relatable to everyone. But he has a very distinct personality, is very different from mine, even though the thought process is different, yet I relate because of this. Same problem being under-socialized, I can't write back and forth in my life. I'm a good DM, but a bad storyteller. I think I'm just an idiot and didn't notice the horses. I like the fact that people are making excuses for me. You could use different fonts for each character. May I post a link to screenshots I took of my previous comments about the horses being gone? Yeah, sure, go for it. Weird criticism, I guess, but I think speech bubbles are a little too clean? I feel like the lines should be varying in thickness and font. Feels like an inconsistent art choice. Huh, interesting. I would appreciate a font that's easier for dyslexics like me to read. Wait, what makes a font easier for dyslexics to read? That's interesting. Beast. Also, personally, yeah, okay. Cyrillic is the writing system for Russian and Greek. The empty bubbles would just be a would just be a ... You're right, maybe that would... Wouldn't that just seem like he was, like, pausing? And not saying anything? Just awkwardly saying nothing? Also, Gale's use of orbit felt a little ad hoc. What does ad hoc mean? Making people float away is really abusable, and he's only halfway abusing it. Makes me wonder why he's not just chucking everyone away to protect Puff. It has a range limit. There's a difference between being relatable and being self-insert. Subaru... Note that one down anyway in case there's another reason. Studies show that font size matters a lot more for dyslexia than font itself. Interesting. Apparently Comic Sans is good for dyslexic people. Oh, really? Oh man, poor Comic Sans got such a bad rap when it had a useful explication. Have you watched Brandon Sanderson's writing course? No. I might look at that. Ad hoc on the fly. Yeah. Oh, so this is the ad hoc thing. Yeah, because like that's another example of the where it's like I could have introduced something in chapter 1 before it became, I guess, relevant in conflict. And then something will appear in the chapter 1 rewrite actually. But I think it's like you got to introduce things before they become necessary, I guess, in order to make them feel not out of nowhere. Which I guess it was introduced a chapter earlier. But it was never shown a chapter earlier? Does that matter? I don't know. If you want the character to say something but the reader to not see it, you could have had an object or other speech bubble blocking it or covering it up. That's an interesting solution, maybe. Maybe that could be a blurry. Alright. It's been pretty easy. Alright. Finally caught up to chat again. Alright, that's interesting. That gives me a decent amount to work with. I don't know if magic fights employ destructible terrain. It's good for spectacle. So if Gale starts spinning a sword, does the sword become a meteor? Therefore it was destroyed. Would Gale be hurt, or is that meteor in his hand the only damage-sharing thing? Sorry if it's still not clear. No, the sword would not become a meteor. So without spoiling anything, I suppose there's some different ways you can look at that. The panel with the girl with the firepower throws a challenge. The panel where the girl with the firepower throws her daggers between panels in Chapter 3 was really creative and cool. I'd love to see more of that. Ah, interesting. Thank you. Positive is just as useful as negative. Thank you. Gives me something to note. This wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Although I am moderately drunk right now. It's very fucking stressful to do this. Ugh. Whatever. Fail faster. Oh, that's good then. Oh, I really should ask about it. What do people think of Gale's line? What was it? Gale's line he said to the scientist where he's like, don't you have any successful experiments? This was something that was supposed to be like a, like kind of a, it was just supposed to be like a burn, like a gotcha line. What do people think of that? Don't you have any successful experiments? Did that come across right, or did I fuck it up? Successful experiments joke was pretty funny. Good. Okay, cool. Cool. That's something. That's something. We did aim for that. This was one of those things. Someone said 2 out of left field. Someone said the experiment joke was funny. I agree. Interesting. Interesting. I like that line, but it's not like it left a lasting impression. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, I kind of picked that up from the fact that I don't know if people should be mentioning it. Should people be mentioning it? That's like, It's not supposed to be like a fucking amazing thing. Oh, really? This guy says I laughed out loud at the experiment joke. Why did no one mention this? No one was talking about the writing. I always get super awkward when people like just like awkwardly avoid the writing because I feel like people are being nice to me. Apparently not. It's fine. If you bold the word successful, then sure. Interesting. Experiment joke landed for me. Got a slight chuckle. Laughed out loud at the experiment joke. Wow, okay. Change it to something along the lines of you're one of many failed experiments. You are one of many failed experiments. I don't think it works the same way if you do that. Because like the original... I don't know. I have no idea about the father though. Is he illusion or is he actually there? This will come through in next chapter. I understand why people thought it was confusing. But that's okay. I expected that. There was no references to other experiments he made, so it felt a bit out of nowhere. Interesting. Overall, the writing is fine, though I don't read much, so... Yeah, I'm starting to wonder how much of a issue that comes from. Because it's like, I watch a lot of anime and manga, but I'm very focused on the writing. I've only just now started to like watch things like Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer and like try to get myself in the mind of some people, because those things are fucking really successful and like sort of out of nowhere, because like especially with Demon Slayer, it's sort of well acknowledged that the story isn't good, but like, man, that thing fucking exploded. And I've been trying to like get myself in the mindset of like what it's like for people who really enjoy the visual mediums, and especially with making something like a comic, it's like I guess people aren't going to concentrate on the writing as much, which kind of makes me wonder what my job is. I don't know. So scale an actual species or some kind of kid of a golem. Yeah, we'll get into that. I didn't copy down all of those things. Actually, wait, I should just go... Sorry, I just need to like copy this down. One said... Field. I agree. Line, but didn't last the lasting impression. I missed the joke. It's pulling well. Experiment joke landed for me. Got a slight chuckle. Laughed loud at the experiment joke. Yeah, should definitely. This is very useful as a designer. Like, just especially the fact that I can just come through and just like ask questions as well. Like, I can run a live stream and like people can just like tell me what they think, and I get like way more fucking comments because of the interaction. And then like also I can just ask questions about specific things, so I can know what the reaction is to like specific moments that I was aiming for. No reference to experiments, so it felt out of nowhere. Writing is fine, I don't read much. Anyway, the joke requires setup. Right now it's just a punchline. Interesting. Sorry if my comment's a bit nitpicky. I enjoyed the chapter and previous one as a whole, but you did ask to be brutalized. No, that's fine. All good. Thank you. Hello, Unique. Oh, hi. Hi, Dimitri. So you're gonna add characters that is literally you, or have you done that already? Am I gonna add self-inserts? No, not really. I suppose, to be fair, if I'm being perfectly honest, Puff is a little bit written from my own experience, but that's not. She's not a self-insert so much, as just like, you know, when you write and you create a character, it's just like the things you understand best are the things you've sort of experienced. So does that make sense? You're gonna add a character. Okay, I honestly think the writing is pretty decent. While generic, it tends to go into depth on the different demons, and really. Oh, I thought you were talking about me, and I'm like, when have I mentioned demons? Do you mean like the demons inside yourself? No, you mean Demon Slayer. Okay. So while the plot is simple and generic, you can understand everyone's motivations for things, which is good in itself. You know, I much respect your attitude to see something popular you don't like and try to understand it rather than write it off. Yeah, I'm trying to like not be a YouTube critic despite being a YouTube critic. I don't like a lot of that attitude. It's just like, I don't know, I've always wanted to actually just like this has always been my end game, like writing stuff, creating stuff. And it's just like, I will make this successful. I want to make this successful. So if not just, it used to be just because it's just like, I wanted to and I enjoy it and it's like an interesting medium to me. But like now it's like there's so much more writing on it where it's just like, I want to prove that you can make something without needing intellectual. I want to prove that you can make something without needing intellectual property. So now it's just like, now I gotta just fucking, I gotta go for it. And if I have to fucking put myself on a pedestal and be like, hey, fucking brutalize me so I can record data, then that's what I'll do. Rather than, you know, every character is a self-insert at some level. I think writing is still important in the comic. From my experience writing comics, I will say, on the topic of like writing from what you know, as opposed to things being self-inserts, it's like, while Puff does definitely, I took a lot of inspiration from like things I'm very familiar with to write her. It's like Gale's like a completely unique character. I really don't want to fucking fall into that trap where, and who's watched She-Ra here? Like I feel like She-Ra had this issue where like the depth of every single character was literally just like, they were trying to prove themselves to someone else. Like Hordak was like that. She-Ra was like that. Sorry, not She-Ra. Catra was like that. Fucking who's she called? Shadow Weaver? That's right. Like there's 3 fucking characters who have the same complex of like, oh man, I really want to like, I have like insecurity issues and I need this person who's above me to acknowledge me. And it's like, that was like, for so many fucking characters it was that. It's just like, you need to try a new character design. But yeah, so it's like, yeah, so Puff leans on a lot of what I know, but like Gale's just like this totally unique, let's make a slave character. Now, what's there? We'll get into sort of the depth with him later, as he develops. But I hope I've done some really interesting stuff with him. I think writing is still important in a comic. From my experience, writing comics is more like screenwriting than writing a novel short story. I bet I could find a clip of you screaming to prove a point in one of your videos. I'm a stickler for magic systems. Does that imply every bit of grass and every bird in that garden was summoned by Puff? It was affected when... So you notice that Puff has like the all of her hair's been shredded and like a lot of like her wings have been clipped and her cloud has gone like a stormy thing. That's because like it's like parts of her are missing. She's been sort of like damaged by something. I'm trying to avoid like spoiling anything or giving clues. Yeah, so like this was another clarity issue. I think the idea was that when whatever happened to her happened, the garden she was most familiar with was affected by it, which is why that garden is like really shredded and stuff. I read chapter 3. May I comment? Yeah, that's what the stream is for. Go for it. I think the main problem with Airlock Bound right now is it hasn't gone on long enough to where I'm really intrigued by anything, and there hasn't been any build up to where I know what will be going on later and what to look forward to. Fair enough. I feel like I should be able to get, if like I know what I'm doing with writing, I should be able to get people invested like as soon as physically possible. I just went back and looked at the line. I would also like to come across snarkier of it would also come across snarkier if it were don't you instead of you don't. I feel like we're stipulating. I'm never sure how much like these tiny differences in lines make a difference, but maybe. Let me put that down. There was a line during the fight where Gale thinks you've been fighting all your life. You've been fighting all your life? It's confused me for a bit, but it seemed... I don't know what that's a reference to. So I just read the entire thing. The one thing that I think is really bad was the dialogue. Ow! First of all, the typeset was quite bad. The font style was quite bland and had to read on mobile. Oh, is this another fucking comment about you gotta be clearer with me. When you say dialogue, I think you mean like the talking between characters and like what they're saying as opposed to the font. You meant his actual fighting training. If so, it might have been better off training to be specifically said to have been training, because most of the word fighting means struggle for... Hello, I love your videos. Thank you. I think you could make Gale's tether feel more consistent if you set it up earlier for him using it, something that he needs instead of just explaining how it works. Yeah, this is definitely like a sort of fallout from the pacing issues in Chapter 1. This will be definitely fixed with a rewrite. Maybe this is because I'm used to manga panels, but the panels are a bit hard to follow at times. Sometimes top right is small and the bottom left panel is large, so my eyes go to that and not the right bottom. Again, it's still very early in the story, so I'm sure we'll get a better grasp later. Overall, your comic feels like a really feels like a throwback to older webcomics before the era where every webcomic was trying to be penny arcade. I can't relate to that at all. I really wasn't a reader of webcomics before. Oh, actually, I read Looking for Group. That was about like the only thing I read, I think. Back just finished in Chapter 2. Things make a lot more sense. I thought it was just me forgetting what happened. I've been searching for ages for a webcomic that doesn't mention video games even once. You're gonna crap on She-Ra. I think She-Ra is supposed to be the cycle of abuse and how it gets passed down. To me, it was just like, it's like, I don't know, write some fucking different characters. It's like we get to the backstory of every character and it's that. I just didn't feel like as interesting as it could have been. Airlock Bound Out of Context sounds like a sci-fi story about a death row prisoner. Okay, that criticism seems fair, but I don't think it stops me from disliking it. I did not get what the scientist didn't notice. I don't know what that's a reference to. By the way, I love your killer videos, and my favorite video is the One Piece video, but my question is, how do you feel about Wano? The Seven Scabbards didn't do a fucking lot. I feel like Wano was a bit overhyped. I feel like there hasn't been like a lot that was interesting. I wish, oh, I shouldn't spoil anything. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it was being a bit overhyped. I feel like not a lot happened, and like so much of like One Piece's arcs are based around, like you need to enjoy. Like it tries to get you invested in a lot of minor characters each time you visit a new world, and like sometimes I don't know. I feel like with a lot of the Scabbards that wasn't interestingly as done. Like fucking counterpoint to that though, Yamato is awesome. I love Yamato. Great introduction for that one. Yeah, and I feel like that's what the Seven Scabbards should have been. But they haven't really felt too useful. I like the frog dude. Kappa dude? Yeah. The dialogue was a bit unnatural at first when the first chapter Gale called Puff Kid, who was supposed to be his queen. Or girlfriend, which was also unnatural. Maybe. Interesting. What about tethers now? So the basis is if you get hurt, your element gets hurt. If it gets hurt, you get hurt. Now the fire girl from the latest chapter, I assume her tether is fire. That was not said specifically, but there is no indication that it would be coal or like that. So I wonder how it would work for her. Yes, that's true. She like feel pain every time someone puts out a fire. Same thing you've been fighting all your life was a bit confusing for me. Because the first chapter I got the impression he did physical work in the field. I gotta take a look at that. I don't know what's going on there. And Puff explains the third thing about tethers, familiarity. I thought it was purposely vague, but then it's not referenced again, and the panels are hard to read. Maybe, yeah, I was worried about this would become another clarity issue. It's like I never know how far to go in terms of explaining things and versus not explaining things. Like sometimes there's some clever things you can do where you can like imply things, but I don't know when to do that and when to not. Ugh, it's hard. Off topic, I've been trying my best to get Tim Pool to watch your anti-IP videos. He and his friend keep talking about IP and it drives me crazy that they haven't seen it. Yeah, hopefully when I do because I'll be doing a redo again of those videos, because like the first ones I did was like the first run through the argument, and like you'll notice with all of my IP videos, like every year it like changes and it gets better. Or it like becomes more radical, or just like I flesh out the arguments more, and I want to do that again. So hopefully with the second go round, and hopefully with a really good like webcomic product, it should start to explode from there. That's the plan anyway. Off topic, but yeah, wait. I swear to God, if I see anything on Red Bean Soup, I'm gonna go insane with One Piece. In the Invincible video, you said a bit about spoilers for Airlock Bound and how that doesn't matter, but like, why does it not matter? Do you not value your own comic the way you value other stories? No, it's more just because no one else values it. It's like, obviously, if I go to an audience of what, fucking 1 million people have watched that videos, no one's gonna be just like, oh no, Airlock Bound spoilers, because no one knows about it yet. So so it was just like an idle joke. I don't really like hate. It's not like I don't value my own comic. It's just realistically I don't need to like make spoiler movies. Maybe later. Maybe I'm gonna regret that later. How busted is Gale? Good question. I also wonder about Gale's history. Never took him to be a fighter. As for One Piece, Yamato is fantastic. Agreed. I really like Wano's art style. It's fantastic. It's a bit off topic, at least related to meeting a few characters in each world, but recently it's occurred to me that Homestuck and Kingdom Hearts are similarly complicated for similar reasons. Every character can technically be 3 characters, there's time travel, there's separate worlds themed after characters. Might make a video essay about it, could be an interesting analysis. And you do good video essays on story analysis, so I hope you don't mind if I crib a few style points from you. Not at all, you can fucking rip the whole videos if you want. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts has always felt to me like a rule of cool spectacle series. I don't think a lot of people get into it for its complex storytelling. They get into it for the big emotional moments and impacts and everything. If you want to imply something that will be somewhat of a twist later, imply when there's a situation in which there's not much weight to those words. My question, how do you feel about One Piece as a series overall? Do you think it's a series that has great arcs? What's the bad arc that makes you want to drop it? Which arc did I like the least? I feel like there's a lot of arcs like Thriller Bark and Skypiea that start really well because they have such interesting world building, and then they kind of like fall off and get really boring. Hey, just got here, haven't read your work, but your writing needs more show tunes. I'd say the more you explain their system, the more room for creativity. I mean, look at One Piece. Simple 3 types of fruit leaves room for creativity. How are you criticizing when you haven't read the work? Oh, you're replying to someone. Just yes or no for this question. Do you plan of how/where this is touring a thing only vaguely? Oh, yeah, I have a plan, yeah. Yeah, no, I planned it for like a year beforehand. it's like sort of, I feel like I wish I did more planning now. But I think it's probably more important to get stuff out here now and like work out where my problems are and then fix them later. Jeez, we've been streaming for like an hour and 25 minutes. Anyway, what advice would you give someone who starts drawing? Coming from experience from just this alone, just like start immediately and then don't be scared about getting criticism. Like when you go to get criticism from people, make sure you tell them like it's okay to be like brutally honest with me. It's like, because you won't be able to improve if you just like show people your stuff, especially friends and family, who they'll just look at it and go like, yeah, it's great, and like you can't trust them. Like you got to tell them, like you got to make them comfortable in thinking that they can be brutally honest, so that you can actually get accurate data. But like, and the other thing is, yeah, just you shouldn't be scared of that. I don't think. I think you need to just like get out there as quickly as possible and you just gotta be really good at taking criticism. Which is kind of what I'm trying to do right now. As you can see, the fact I brought fucking alcohol. I haven't done this in a while. There used to be times where I was doing this with other stuff I've written in the past. But nothing on this scale before. Anyway. Cool. Anyway, cool, thank you. This has been very helpful to me. Geez, I have like a whole fucking page of like stuff. Cool, great. Yeah, this has been useful. I'll definitely do this again. But I think my voice is getting sore, so I'll probably pull out now. I purposely did a drawing that was critically bad, tried to get critique from the parents before I got a, yeah, it's great, and never went for them to critique again. I posted my stuff on Reddit instead. I came in to say that I could not follow the fight scene in Chapter 3 at all. I could not tell where anyone was or where most of the attacks of them were doing. That is the thing that we keep getting, huh? Right, thank you, noted. Alright, cool. Hi, Ryancast. We're leaving. Anyway, this has been a very helpful live stream. I've gotten a lot of data here to work with. It's given me a bit more confidence, especially with some of the lines I was going for. Yeah. Alright, cool. In that case, that's where we're going to end it for tonight. But thank you very much. This has been very helpful. Unique, just a question: who does all the drawing for your story? You can find the credits in the. You can find the credits in the fucking webtoons. It's on the second page. John Smith says, "Worst thing I've ever read." Jokes. Okay. Bye, Unique. Bye. Thanks for the stream. Have a good morning and night. Thank you for all the information. I will definitely be doing this again. This has been very helpful. I'll keep a good finger on the pulse of this story and see how much I can improve. I hope to give get the chapter 1 rewrite out soonish. That's gonna be my next goal. Sorry about videos. I need to like push that out so I can get a accurate. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, thank you. I'm gonna end the stream now. So long. Goodbye.